So welcome. We'll get cracking now. So well done for getting here on time at 2 o'clock. So we are on another webinar, and we've got another employer to show you. UK Power Network, so a really good employer that we work with. It's quite special about today because we've got some different guests that you'll hear from. The main person who runs the program, which is always, I think, really good because you can ask some good questions and ultimately maybe impress them. Who knows? If you are interested in the apprenticeship scheme at UK Power Networks, they have actually got their applications open at the moment. At Pathway, you know, we're a social enterprise that want to make sure that you guys know where the jobs are and where and when they're happening. So I think it's quite exciting that if you are interested in this, we can help you apply before the deadline, which is actually this Sunday. But if you're just here just to learn and understand a bit more, brilliant. If you're going to go to university, want to be an engineer or whatever it might be, again, you know, this is great for your CV and great to actually learn and hear about different things you might end up doing in your career. So if we crack on, we're obviously a social enterprise, as you guys know. I know you guys come on these webinars, so you know who we are. But just in terms of the format, so I'll be handing over to Liz soon, who's going to take you through a little bit more about UK Power Networks. Liz has done a bit of work on the slides there, which is great. So it gives you a bit more of an insight and you get to hear less of my voice. Then we're going to have a little look at the spotlight on different experiences. So we've got 3 volunteers who have actually given up their time to support Liz today, which is fantastic. And then you can ask questions whenever you want throughout the session. And this is how you do it. So the Q&A box is what you need to be locating. So basically any question that you have at any time, just put that in the Q&A box. If you're clever about it, if you put whether you want Will, Connor, Lee or Liz to answer it, then we'll direct it to them. If you're not sure, just whack the question in and we'll decide where we ask it. If you do want to speak throughout the session, there is a way that you can raise your hand. If you raise your hand, we'll just drop you a quick note, probably from Catherine, to say, oh, hey, are you ready to ask your question? And then what we'll do, we'll just unmute you and then you can actually speak. Probably the best way of doing things, but not many people often do it because maybe confidence, it's a bit daunting, but have a go if you do want to ask a question because you'll be able to ask it better than we can. So what are you going to get from today? Introduction to UK Power Networks. You know, really good company. I've been out on their sites before, so I've actually seen it firsthand, and there's some amazing opportunities there. There's some good earning potential, and there's some great qualifications that they do as a company. What I've recognised about the company is that they really invest in their people, so that's why we work with them, really. An overview of the different roles, so you'll get to hear from different people today, which I think is always brilliant. And remember, by the way, when you hear from different people, that's the stuff that just builds your network, you know, whether you're going to add them on LinkedIn, whatever it might be, or talk about them at your next interview, or talk about it at the interview which made you realise why you didn't want a sector or why you did want it. All this sort of stuff is great learning, and well done for being on the webinar today because you don't have to be. So you're that type of person who wants to achieve, wants to learn, and you're only going to be here for about 40 minutes. So yeah, well done again. So that's enough from me. We've also got Catherine on the line from Pathway CTM who'll be asking some questions. But over to Liz, and Liz, do just say when you want me to click through the presentation. Liz.
Thank you very much. Hi everyone, thank you for joining today. My name is Liz Nash. I'm Talent Acquisition Partner at UK Power Networks. So what that means is I specifically look after all of the recruitment for our training programs. So if we move on to slide next one. So first of all, I'll go through talking a little bit about who we are, because I appreciate you may well have seen our logo and vans, but you probably don't have a clear understanding of who we actually are and the service that we provide. So UK Power Networks actually has 2 separate parts to it. So we have the DNO section. So DNO stands for Distribution Network Operator. And what that means is we basically keep the lights on for all of our customers that are within our patch. So regardless of who you pay your bill to, we're not an electricity supplier with a distribution. So where that fits in the journey of electricity is electricity will be generated. National Grid then pick it up and transmit it across the country. And when it comes into the local areas, your DNO will pick it up and deliver it to your door. So we're actually prevented from supplying electricity by our regulator. So they're called Ofgem, similar to Ofsted that you have in school. Moving on.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay. And then another click and you will see our patch. So UKPN is actually comprised of 3 separate licence areas. So we've got the East, which is that top large section, so Kings Lynn, Bury St Edmunds, Chelmsford, all the way down to North London. So that's what we call EPM. We then have London, which is obviously your London bit in the middle. Doesn't look much on the map, but as you can imagine, lots and lots of people crammed in to that little area on the map. So that's LPN, and then we have SPN, which is our southern network. So all of Kent, down into Guildford and all the way down to Brighton. So we serve nearly 9 million customers across the UK, and we are the largest owner and operator of public DNOs. In terms of employees, there's around 6,200 of us that work in the team.
Yes, I was just going to ask, like, what happens to the rest of the country? Did the government have contracts with other companies potentially, or?
Good question. So the UK is split up into 14 different DNOs. So UKPN is 3 of them. And that's the maximum license area that any one operator can have. But as you go out through the country, you'll find other DNOs such as Western Power Distribution, SSE. So you're on the back of your electricity bill will say who your DNO is.
And do you have to sort of like re-tender for the contracts or anything like that? No?
So we are a localised monopoly. So we own and maintain all of the electrical infrastructure within our patch.
Cool. Okay, thanks so much. Thanks.
Cool. So as I mentioned, there's kind of 2 parts of UK Power Networks. We also have a section which is unregulated. So these guys are called UK Power Networks Services. And this team, or this part of the business, is able to go out and bid on really big contracts of work. So then they can own and maintain private networks. So things like Heathrow Airport, all of the electrical infrastructure is owned and managed by UKPN. We have really big contracts. They last for sort of 99 years with London City Airport, Heathrow, High Speed 1, so the high-speed train link that runs from St Pancras down into France. We build and maintain all of the electrical infrastructure on that. So yeah, it's part of the business that can go out and expand beyond our patch. They're a really exciting part of the business to be in. So the next couple of slides, I'm just going to talk about something that's really important to UKPN, so which is our vision and values. And this branches across UKPN and UKPN services as well. So we split up into three pillars. So an employer of choice. So what that looks like in real life is we want all of our employees to want to come and work and be proud of who they work for. We want to make sure that all of our employees go home safe at the end of the day and they get the training and development they need in order to grow in their career. A respected and trusted corporate citizen. So if we go back, sorry, Chris, that's all right. We've got our second pillar. So there we obviously have a really big customer base. We want to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to make sure they're treated fairly. We're the lowest cost, or we aim to be the lowest cost DNO in our patch, in the UK, sorry. And we want to make sure that we're constantly innovating and we're not holding up any new technologies or anything that's coming into play in the world. Things like electric vehicles, obviously these all plug in to the network. We need to ensure that our network isn't standing in the way of any progress. And then last but not least is sustainably cost efficient. We want to make sure that we are spending money on the right areas of the business and also in our unregulated business that we're continuing to grow and provide a great service to our customers.
I was just going to wonder actually, guys, do put in the chat box if you've ever seen a UK Power Networks van go around, because you do see them drive around a lot, don't you, Liz?
They're everywhere. Once you see our logo, you'll notice at the end of every street going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do put in the chat box if you recognise the brand, guys. I wonder if you do.
Perfect. So looking at our values, so we've got a set of 6. These are really important to us. They'll get picked up throughout your yearly reviews, in interviews. They are really integral to the way that we operate as a business. So integrity, continuous improvement, diversity, inclusiveness, respect, responsibility, and unity. Hopefully they align with your own moral values, but they're really important to us.
And Liz, just on that, is that really, like, you're in charge obviously of the programme and interviewing people, I suppose. Is that something that we should be thinking about when we pick companies to work for, and also should we be maybe talking about that at interview?
Absolutely. So you'll notice that most large organisations especially will have a outlined set of values that will be really, really important to the way that they operate, both internally and with their client base. So it's really, really important that before you go for an interview, that you brush up on your knowledge and try and drop them in. You may not be asked directly to list them, but if you're demonstrating some of the values when you're answering your questions, it's always going to stand you in good stead.
Cool. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Cool. So now I'm going to run through a little bit more information about our foundation apprenticeship program, which I imagine most of you will be eligible for. So it's a level 3 advanced apprenticeship program. It is designed specifically for recent or soon to be school and college leavers. It lasts 3 years in duration, and it provides people with the opportunity to become fully trained, qualified craftspeople. There are 3 separate trades that we'll go through shortly. You'll get various different qualifications, both professional qualifications where you go off to college, and we also have a fantastic internal training centre where you will also spend a lot of your time as well. In terms of entry requirements, so we do ask for a minimum of 3 in maths and English. Science is always preferable as well, and then anything up from there too. Starting salary is, oh sorry, go.
Oh, sorry, Liz. I was just going to say, yeah, isn't this where the training you all go off site somewhere? Is that right?
Yeah, so in a normal climate, obviously it's a bit different at the minute. But in a traditional year, they would go off to Somerset. So we work with Bridgewater College, and they spend their time between there and our 2 in-house training centres. So we have one in Sundridge, where I believe Lee is today, and then we also have a big training centre up in Risby, so near Bury St Edmunds as well. So lots of travelling around in your first year. You're away from home sort of Monday to Friday for a lot of it, which sounds a little bit scary if you haven't done it before, but we obviously make sure that you are well looked after, and we will make sure that you're not out of pocket for it as well. It's also a really good opportunity for you guys to get to know your cohort that you join with. So you end up leaving the first sort of year or so with some really great friends. In terms of starting salary, we do have a really generous package at UK Power Network, so you'll be starting on no less than £16,000 a year, plus some really great benefits that we get as well. And there are various different apprenticeship positions across the UKPN patch. I'll just run through the locations for you guys so you can know what we're still looking for. So I'll do it region by region. So in terms of London, we've got we've got roles in Camden, Brixton and East London. So not far from Star Lane on the DLR. In our southern patch, we've got opportunities in Crawley, Brighton, and then Aldershot for services. And then in the east, we're looking at Peterborough, Southend, Purfleet, and Norwich.
And then just, I'm saying this, if I don't live in any of those areas, do I have to be able to commute to them, or could I relocate if I wanted to? Yeah.
Given the general age of students that join us at foundation level, we do ask that they live within a 45-minute commute to us, just because we're very aware that they have a lot to learn and there's lots of travelling generally in their first year. We don't then want them to have another hour and a half commute there and back every day. It just becomes a bit exhausting.
Sure.
Fab. So as I mentioned earlier, there are 3 separate trades, and Lee, feel free to jump in if you feel that you can probably elaborate in my descriptions. But first things first is a cable jointer. So these are the guys and girls that work on the underground cable network. So they'll do maintenance, they'll lay new supplies, and they'll carry out LV and so HV is high voltage and LV is low voltage. Lee, would you like to add anything?
I suppose just from a social point of view, that's young Fran there. She's gone on to become a trainer at the training centre and is at present off on maternity leave. So that's a photo from the past that I took in the Brighton area, if I remember rightly.
Perfect. So yeah, so these are the people that you will see when you're out and about in the streets, barriered off, and they'll be working on the underground network. Moving on.
And I was just going to ask a question from Alfie here saying, what if I don't live close to one of those areas? For example, I live in Tunbridge. Would the best one to go for be Crawley? Yeah, that is within 45 minutes of calling, to be fair. So yeah, that would work, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So basically how it works is when you apply, you obviously apply with your home location and your postcode, and we will just double check that you're within range. Unfortunately, if you're not, then this year won't be your year. But what's really great about UKPN is we will recruit on a cyclical basis. So perhaps this year isn't your year, but fingers crossed, next year we may have some more suitable roles. So the way it works in terms of how we allocate roles is we'll go out to the business and we'll look at where the demand is. So every role is picked specifically to align with business need and sort of workforce planning as well.
Cool, thank you.
So our second trade is overhead lines person. So these guys and girls work on the overhead network. Most of our overhead cables are on wood poles, but we do have some tower pylons as well. Essentially similar to the jointers underground, but they'll be working on the overhead network. Lee, anything else?
I suppose just to lighten the mode a bit, if you're scared of heights, don't apply for an overhead linesman. You know, you do have to go up that pole in all conditions. They're climbing on spikes, but you might be on a ladder or in a cherry picker or mute bucket. But if you don't like heights, it's not the job for you.
One thing actually is really important to add at this stage is candidates will not get the opportunity to choose their trade. Trades are aligned to the roles that we already have. So as I mentioned earlier, they're specifically out to market because there is a business need for them.
Okay, guys, we'll get to your questions in a second. Alfie, Claire, Arnaldo. Please, over to you, Liz. Thanks.
And then fitter, so last but not least, is our maintenance fitter. So these are the guys and girls that work on maintaining and building the electrical plant we have. So all of the substations and everything else inside are all built or at least maintained by the fitters.
Great stuff. Oh, sorry, yep.
Anything you want to add there, Lee?
No, I mean, just to say that some of you would be looking at sort of pictures like that. Most of our substations are behind closed doors. You would never have seen them. And that's what the apprenticeship's about. I was a fitter for over 20 years. We train you. You learn on site. So all the skills, you know, you might not have known about before.
So you came up through the apprenticeship scheme, did you, I wonder?
For most of you on the call, I've never done one of these before. I started as an apprentice in 1979, and I'm now in my 40th year. So great opportunities within the company, been moved around quite a few times through my own choice, I say. And it's great to give something back now. I really enjoy it.
Oh, good on you. Thank you. I've just got a couple of questions here from Claire saying, I'm a careers advisor. Thanks for coming, Claire, in the West Midlands. And my students are obviously outside the 45-minute commute. Would you offer any financial assistance for relocation?
So unfortunately, we wouldn't be in the position to offer any compensation that goes with that. But what I would say is, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are a DNO. So it's probably best for you to look up, be interested in running something similar. We all kind of run the same types of programs. Obviously, we're training for the same sorts of roles. So that would be my best advice, would be to look at your local DNO. Lee, do you know who?
Western Power. It'd be Western Power, Midlands.
Perfect. So yeah,
Western
WPD
Power
would be your go-to.
Western Power. Thanks so much. And I've got one for Arnaldo here. I'm a foreigner studying here in the UK, but I don't hold GCSE grades for English and maths. Can I still try to participate in the programme?
Perfect. As long as you have the equivalent to a what used to be an A star to D, which is now a 9 to 3, that's fine. So we can get qualifications translated through NAWIC, but we would need to see an equivalent.
Cool. Okay. Well, good news. Thanks, Liz. I'll come to the questions later. Good questions, guys.
Okay. Perfect. So really brief look at the recruitment process if any of you are thinking of applying between now and Sunday. So the online application form is really, really simple. There's no sort of long answer questions that we need. It's essentially your personal details, your qualification and work history. Easy as that. We need a CV. You can attach a cover letter if you want, but it's by no means essential. We will need to see that CV though. And then click go, and then hopefully you will meet the minimum criteria and we can move you on to the next stage, which would be a situational judgment test, or SJT. For those of you that don't know what that is essentially an online test which will give you scenarios, which would be real life to work, And then there's multiple choice answers on how you would react in that scenario. And it's basically aligning you to whether you're the right fit for a role here at UKPN. And then thirdly would be your video interview. For those of you that haven't done these, it's a little bit of an alien experience, and the guys will vouch for that when we speak to them later. But essentially what happens is you will come through to a portal, and we use a platform called Sunroom, and then you'll get asked about 5 questions. A question will pop up on the screen. You get about a minute to think and prepare your answer, and 2.5 minutes to then respond. I say alien because there's no one on the other line. You are recording your answers, which I will then look at a later date. So a little bit strange. It is worth you practicing, getting used to looking at yourself on screen. And then this is where we're bringing people up to at the moment. So as you can imagine, traditionally we would run an assessment centre. We would have already had them planned now, but obviously given social distancing and not being able to gather, at the minute we're just pausing here. So normally we would have a start date set for September, but that looks unlikely that that's going to happen. So start date is looking to be a lot later on in the year, sort of December time. So if you do get through to video interview, don't expect to be invited to an assessment centre straight away. Unfortunately, we're just not in the position to book those in until we have a clearer idea of how we can do that safely.
No, thanks very much. Just a couple more questions. Alfie's come back saying he has applied, and it says, or he's trying to. Well done, Alfie. He's saying he's too far away, but he does live within that range. Is there anything he could do? Maybe email or something potentially?
So sorry, he's too far out.
Yeah, this was Alpha. He lives in Tunbridge. He was applying for Crawley, I think he was. Alpha, you might want to put your hand up and speak over this. And he's saying he's applied, but it says he's too far away, but he does live within the range.
Oh, okay. Best thing for you to do is pop us an email. So our email is futuretalent.
Catherine, could you put this in the chat box, please?
futuretalent@ukpowernetworks.co.uk, and feel free to pop us an email and we can come back to you if you've got any individual concerns about your application.
Brilliant. I've just got Ibad as well. Ibad's he comes on a lot of these sessions. He's really interested in the sector, definitely. He's from East London and was wondering what roles are available there. I think you did mention East London, didn't you? Is there anything specific around there, I wonder?
Yes, so we have an office in Star Lane, or just outside Star Lane, and we do have a role there. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what role it is. I believe it's a fitter. But I would have to confirm that. Again, if you've got any questions, pop us an email.
Cool. Ibad, let us know if you're keen. It'd be interesting to know if you are, and we can help support you before Sunday. He's also asked, can we choose where we want to go study, or is that where you guys allocate us?
Yeah, so there's non-negotiable in terms of where you go off to college. Every apprentice goes through the same process, so you all go off to college at the same time and complete the same courses. So unfortunately, that is just part and parcel of the first year.
Some good questions coming in from Anonymous. How competitive is the apprenticeship? I.e., how many applications do you tend to receive for each role? Good question.
Ooh, good question. So I would say we receive between, depending on the year, I think at the moment we're tracking at about 35 to 40 applications per role. So reasonably competitive. But, you know, if you try your hardest, then you're just as likely to get that role as anyone else.
And Liz, if they've been on this webinar, should they put that on their application form or anything like that, do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's always good to hear. You will be asked, you know, where you heard about the role. So if you can link it in, that's always good. And when you're answering any questions, perhaps in video interviews or anything like that, it's always good for us to hear that you've met us out either on campus or at something like this.
And a good question from Bridget here, which might lead on to the rest of the volunteers on the session, saying, sorry, I was late joining, so may have said this. What is the age range for apprenticeships? Is there a minimum and a maximum? I'm pretty sure today we've got 2 apprentices on the line, and I think they've got different stories, haven't they, in terms of experience? You've got an experienced and a foundation route, haven't you, Liz?
Yes, absolutely. So we do have 2 separate apprenticeship programs. So we have a foundation one, which is what we just spoke about, and that is specifically for sort of school leaver-ish age. So they tend to range from 16, so as soon as you leave school, to around the 23 years old mark. And then we have a separate role that we're not unfortunately recruiting for this year, and that's the experienced apprenticeship role. So the entry requirements for that is a little bit different. We do look for someone to have more practical experience within a similar-ish kind of role. So things like domestic electricians, plumbers, fabricators, just something that shows or demonstrates a bit of manual dexterity, we would say. The programme follows a similar course. They do the same qualifications, but they do it in a year less, which is why we ask for them to have a little bit more understanding of the area.
Brilliant. Okay, brilliant. Thanks so much. There's lots of questions. We've kept you busy. I wonder if it's now time to maybe meet the team.
Cool.
Great stuff. So should we start with Connor? Connor, experienced apprentice fitter, first year. Connor, do you want to give us a bit of an introduction about how you... Oh, sorry, Liz. Were you...
No.
Oh, no, sorry. Do you want to give us a bit of an introduction about how you got to UK Power Networks and what you do there?
Okay, yep. So I'm Connor. I've been doing it just over a year, I think now. Well, no, sorry, coming up to a year. And prior to this, I applied I think I found it online. I think I searched for it online. I wanted to gain a new experience in life. I was practicing the same job for about 5 years. I worked for a company called SGN. I was a gas main layer. So I was laying gas. So I was in the utility business beforehand, so hence why I applied for the experience one. But yeah, as I say about the recruitment process, yeah, it is tough. The recruitment process is tough, but you have to work for it. Like, if you want good things, you have to work for it sometimes. So, but yeah, it's paid off. I don't regret it at all. So, but yeah, apart from that, that's me.
Brilliant. And did you go to college, Connor, I wonder? Or
did I go to college? Yes, I went to college for about 2.5, 3 years. I did a first year was a plumbing one. That was level 2, and then I did level 2 and level 3 in electrical installations, even though I never used them until I actually came to this company. So yeah.
Brilliant. We've got lots of electrical superstars on our program who have done one of our construction-based programs. So I think a few of them are on this call. So guys, do shout out if you want to ask Connor any questions at all. If we go to Will, it'd be good to hear from you next, mate.
Hi, I'm Will. Yeah, I'm on the foundation apprenticeship. I'm actually a fitter as well. I know it says this person on the screen.
Sorry.
We thought we'd mix it up, Will. Keep you on your toes.
But yeah, I've the video interview was really the most daunting part. Yeah, I went to, before this I was at college, and I did a level 3 engineering BTEC. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Me, I'm in my second year as well, obviously.
And
what on the screen.
I wonder, Will, what's been the difference between going from college to going into year 1 and then year 1 into year 2?
Well, from going from college to full-time work, it was a lot more training involved with the apprenticeship, obviously. With college, it was kind of just, you get taught. With this, it's a lot more hands-on. And yeah, the first year is very full on. It's really good traveling around with all your new apprenticeship friends. And yeah, it's going into second year, it's a lot more kind of on site. So you're with the people you will be working with once you've started. Yeah, which is quite good.
And Will, what site are you on? Sorry.
I'm between two at the moment. I've been based out of Bidder Street for a while, doing construction, the construction side of fitting, but I'm also now on to maintenance side out Southend.
Okay.
So I've kind of seen it LPN and EPN.
And before we go back to Connor, before we come on to Lee, best bit about your job, Will?
Definitely the people. Everyone's really friendly. Oh, sorry, something just fell over. Yeah, everyone's really friendly and easy to get on with. Yeah.
Well, we'll let you fix that issue if there's anyone falling over and hurt. Connor, back to you. What's the best part about the job that you would want to share with the students on this call today?
Every day there's a lot more variety in the work. I love the variety. Like there's so much you could be doing from day to day. 1 minute you could have your head in fixing panel work, like looming wires and stuff, and then the next minute you could be helping constructing a new buzz bar system and like fixing iron girders and stuff like that. So it's a real wide range of stuff that we can be doing. So yeah, that's what I would say my favourite part.
And you did electrical at college, right?
Correct. Yep.
Because like I said, we've got people doing electrical. Like, how did you map out your career from there? Because lots of people just go and do maybe a trade that they might be interested in, might be good at, but then getting into a job is actually quite hard. How did you map out to go, oh, actually, I'm gonna really enjoy this part of work?
Okay. No, that's a really good question. So when I was 16, I was like every other 16-year-old, and I was not very academic, to say the least. Lee will back that one up, I'm sure. He'll mention that. And yeah, so like everyone else, and I wanted a job that was hands-on because, academics wasn't for me. I was not going to go to uni. So I started going to college. I thought maybe I wanted to be a plumber. I tried my hand at being a plumber, and I even done an apprenticeship for a bit, and it just wasn't for me. It didn't fit out to nothing. So then I moved on to gasworks. I moved on to utilities, and from utilities I found that was from moving to electrics. I felt like I wanted to do electric, so I moved into utilities doing gas, and then eventually I managed to find a path into UKPN, which was eventually working with electrics on a utility scale, because I didn't want to work domestic. I liked working like out in the field, outside like that. So that is another favourite thing. I like working outside.
Oh, brilliant. And kind of one more question, that debate between domestic and maybe earning money, being self-employed versus working for a business. What are the pros and cons, would you say, from your point of view?
Okay. Oh, that's a really good question. So I was also self-employed as a plumber. That was good. There was good times on that. But there was also sometimes you could be working a regular day with long hours and not always getting paid because you're getting paid on the job. And sometimes if a job doesn't work, it doesn't fizz out, and it fizzes out sometimes the cost can outweigh you doing the length of the job if you're self-employed. I don't know if everyone knows it, but there's slang for being on the books. So working for a PAYE company like UKPN, you get more perks. Like you don't have to worry about your holiday, you don't have to worry about doing your taxes, you don't have to worry about being sick. Like, cause if you say like you're not feeling well and you're really not up for the job, if you're self-employed, then you still have to some way try and find the grit to go back to, because otherwise you're not getting paid. So I would say they're probably the biggest. I would say they're some of the biggest. Not that they're both pros and cons, but yeah, that was what I found quite different.
Well, brilliant. Thanks so much, Connor. And Lee, please do let us know about your role and your and how you link to Connor and Will, I suppose, if at all.
Well, first thing I'd like to come back with, just Connor's prompted me. I think we've got about 6,500 employees, and everyone at present, we've all said it's a great place to work. But over these last few months, people are absolutely saying what a great place to work. We haven't made anyone redundant. We haven't furloughed anyone, and that's quite amazing. And we're passionate about safety. I live and breathe safety. I love people. It's a role I do. And when Connor was joking about, I'll come back to him. I'm a person who works with my hands. I'm not into sitting behind a desk and doing computers, although I have to. It's an industry that you've got to be prepared to work in the snow, the wind and the rain. We're outside. And then another day it's hot and you're moaning it's too hot, we can't win. But that's where we work. That's what we do. We're very, very team working. Small teams generally, most of our jobs. And it's the variety. I can plan my week, but tomorrow, next minute, it will change. That's what we do. We do keep the lights on. I'm an operational engineer. But as I said, starting off with, in 79, I started as an apprentice fitter, 4-year apprenticeship. Worked my way through the tools. And basically, because people used to say to me, have you tried this? And in 2007, someone said, come to training. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that. But I love it. I was an apprentice. I understand people. I help people. They help me. I still believe every day is a learning day for every one of us.
And Lee, I just wonder, what do you actually need to, what are you good at? Because I haven't a clue what your job would look like, so to speak. What are you actually like? What are your expertise individually, I wonder?
Okay, so most of you could imagine what a mechanic does in a car. That's what I always say. Most of us work on the fitting side with nuts and bolts. So we're a car mechanic, but no, we work on the big electrical stuff. So cables, they're underground. We don't see them. When the lights go out, sometimes they're faulted, so we have to make them back, put joints in. Basically, like an electrician does do a joint, we do a joint. And we spoke about the overheads. They're the easiest ones because we can see the overhead wires in the line. So you have to be good at climbing, and you're up there repairing things. And that's why it's not an 8 till 4 job, because electricity is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So when you finish your apprenticeship, you're normally on a standby rotas. You're available to work weekends. That's what it's about.
And I just wanted to ask, actually, like overtime and getting paid, I think the UK Power Networks look after you pretty well, and just to ask how that's structured, and maybe Will and Connor, if you've taken advantage of the way UK Power Networks look after you, I suppose.
Shall I go first?
Yeah, please, Lee, yeah.
Generally, as apprentices, they do get a small amount of overtime. I'm being genuine here because they're here to learn, not here to, to be used as slave labour, should we say. Once they come out of their time, predominantly, obviously in the central London area, they have a shift pattern because we need to keep the lights on a lot more. So there is a potential to earn a lot of money, and yes, they're all treated fairly.
Thanks. Connor, Will, what about you guys in terms of, I guess, earning potential and how you can really make it work for you?
Will, do you want to go first?
Can do. Well, there is definitely the option for overtime, but I haven't taken advantage of it yet. But yeah, it's definitely there. But there's all the other benefits, like being able to, if you did want to drive your car, possibly later on in the apprenticeship, then you can claim the mileage back, and then you've got your fuel money for that, and you're not actually having to pay for most of your travel. So that's just another benefit.
And did you, in your induction then, did you stay over in a hotel or something like that, or what was it like?
Yeah, during the induction and pretty much the whole of the first year, you get hotels paid for, all of your food paid for, and it's really good. Almost no outgoings. So
that sounds pretty good. Connor, what about your side? You looked after well too?
Yeah, no, I'm on great terms with my manager. Actually, I've just been passed over to another manager, so when I leave, I'm being passed over to another manager. My side is slightly different. So I'm not a maintenance fitter. I am a construction fitter. So I mostly build things. So that means I'm not on the standby rota, which was quite happy for me because I already done standby, so I was happy with the change. But that means I work longer days when needed to. So I might work longer days. I might be asked to work weekends and stuff like that. So I still work overtime, but it's not on a call-out basis. That's the difference for me.
Okay, fine. And I just wonder, Connor, maybe sticking with you, how does it work with studying towards the qualification? Like, I know in apprenticeships, on the job, you're also doing, learning and working. How does it work for you?
Absolutely, yes. But they do go hand in hand at the same time. When you're learning in the book and you're out on the job, sometimes it's nice to, for instance, when a job matches up what actually happens in the book. So when we're talking about maintaining, I don't know if any of you have seen your boards in your houses, you've seen a circuit board. We maintain something that's on a similar basis, but just larger, but still works in the same principle. And sometimes it's nice seeing that when you get a display in the book and then you start learning it. Yeah, it's quite, first, it might not make a bit of sense because if you just look at it in a book, you might not grab it that way. But when you start learning out on the field as well, that will hopefully then it normally comes, for me, definitely it comes that way.
Brilliant. And Liz, just to bring you back into the conversation, will you have a job when you finish your apprenticeship? How does it work at UK Power Networks?
Yeah, good question. So yes, all of our offers do go out as full-time permanent offers. The only difference would be if maybe you didn't meet your milestones, or if there was something else that's happening, then you may not, it may not be yours. But as a role, if you're offered an apprenticeship, there is a role for you at the end of it. So yeah, most, if not all, of our apprentices go on to stay with us for many, many years.
Brilliant. No, that's what we wanted to hear. Guys, I guess any more questions at all? I've answered 13 questions on that, so we've got through that pretty well. Catherine, anything from your side?
Yeah, I guess then it would probably be, IBAD and a few other people on the line will probably be applying. So I guess from your side, Will and Connor, it'd be good, Will said you found the video interview quite tough. So any advice with the application process, I think that would be valuable for the students. So Will, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, definitely read up on the company before any kind of interviews, and try and work in the the company, what the company stands for and what they want out of an apprentice, just so you can kind of work that into the video interview, because that is a bit daunting, but it's definitely worth it. Yeah.
Great, thanks. What about yourself, Connor? Any top tips?
Much the same for Will. Definitely read up. For me, when the video interview does come across, for me it helps to have someone maybe sit in the other side of the table, but don't stare at them though. But it means you're talking. You can still talk to the computer without sounding like you might think you're going completely crazy.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I was just thinking, conscious of time, we did say 40 minutes. Ibad, Jake, we've had a few people on there. There were a couple of others as well who were quite keen. Ibad, I know that you've been keen on stuff like this. So I guess, Liz, Sunday's the deadline. So from Monday, we can't do it. It's got to be by Sunday, has it? And is that just stage one we've got to do?
Yep, so midnight on Sunday, applications will close. They won't be coming back, so now is really the opportunity to get it in. Honestly, if you have a CV ready, the application process will take you 15 minutes tops. Please don't overthink it. We're not looking for anything in particular, really, at this stage. We just need to make sure that you get your application in before close of play on Sunday. And yes, it is only the initial application. Once we screen your application, we'll then move you on, if possible, to your SJT and then your video interview as well. But just to echo what through this process, really do take the time to prepare and don't take things lightly. I don't want to sound scary, but you're not going to get a second chance this year to try again. So, take it seriously. If you're going to do your situational judgment test, make sure you've allotted enough time. You've told your family not to interrupt you. All good things like that. Don't rush it. Don't leave it to the last minute, because you're just going to put yourself under more stress. Appreciate that. But try not to get in your head too much. We're not remotely interested in what you look like or anything like that. So try and detach yourself from that piece. And I have done a webinar with you guys on video interviewing. I don't know if that's saved somewhere, if they have access to that, but there's a whole long, about hour conversation with me about video interviews and how to prep for that. So feel free to look at that.
No, brilliant. Thanks so much, Liz. Will and Connie, you've been brilliant. I just want a final point to Lee, really. Lee, I think you said you've been there maybe over 15, 20 years. I just wondered, any more top tips from you, given your knowledge and wisdom of the company?
Keep going, 40 years.
Beg your pardon.
Top tips.
I wanted to aim lower just in case I got it wrong.
Make me feel younger. Yeah, no problem. Top tips. Be open-minded. I mean it. Every day is a learning day. After 40 years, I'm still learning things. I mean, one thing Liz mentioned was milestones, and I thought you might not understand what they are. They're basically pay increases through your apprenticeship. So if you're asked to do something, do it, and I'll give you the increase. If you don't do it, don't expect the money. And that's the way we work. We talk about honesty and integrity. If you're asked to do something, you say you're going to do it, you'll do well, and you'll earn money.
Brilliant. I like it. I just have Bridget here, I think, is the careers advisor, if I remember rightly. Maybe not. When will the next interview process be after this one? So I suppose that's probably, if I put in my application on Sunday, when's the next stage? But then also, Liz, maybe if I'm a year 12, when's next year going to happen? If you could answer those two, that would help.
Cool. So in terms of timelines, if you give us about a week in between each stage, there is just quite a small team of myself and one other person. So once you apply, if you wait until the following week, if you haven't heard anything from us, you can pop us an email. I really don't mind. But yeah, give us about a week in between and we'll go through that. In terms of next year, as I mentioned, it is cyclical. Whether the pushback of the start date this year has any effect on next year, I don't know. But if we work off sort of traditional timings, we tend to go out for applications around November time, realistically, November, December, and then we'll stay open for 2-3 months, and then we'll close. And then we hope to have the assessment centres wrapped up by June to allow students to go off on holiday and do lots of nice things over the summer holidays.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, guys. Look, from my point of view, before I hand over to Kathleen, just with final points, is I think it was Alfie, I think Jake, Ibad, like guys, just email into pathway student@pathwayctm.com. Just make sure that you do that, and then we can basically support your application. We've got today, we've got tomorrow. You've got till Sunday. We're not going to be there Saturday and Sunday for you. We're not that dedicated, not yet. But Catherine, any other tips for students in terms of how they can use our support and what they should do?
Yeah, sure. So after this session, you'll receive a follow-up with the recording for your own reference, and I'll also send through that link which Liz was referring to with, you know, talking through the stages of the application process. And that's, you know, keep us posted with, you know, if you are wanting to apply and if you need that support, and we can help you out today and tomorrow before the deadline.
Yeah, brilliant. Well done everyone for turning up. You've kept here right till the end, most of you. And thanks very much to UK Power Networks, and good luck with your applications if you are doing it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. Cheers, guys. Appreciate your time.
Interesting.
Thanks very much.
Bye.